Hi, this is Chris Ramsey, and you are listening to Strictly Between Us, Radio Times' Strictly Come Dancing podcast. Enjoy.
Thank you, Chris Ramsey. This is indeed Strictly Between Us, radiotimes.com's Strictly Come Dancing podcast, where we'll be dissecting the weekend's dance floor drama, mulling over the many controversies and marvelling at the fact that Craig Revel Horwood finally located his 10 paddle. This week your hosts are me, Frances Taylor, commissioning editor at Radio Times magazine, and Emma Powell, radiotimes.com's news editor.
Hello.
And before we say goodbye to Alex Scott, we have to say goodbye to someone even more important, and that is indeed our Emma, who it's your last Strictly podcast this week and your last week at Radio Times.
I know, it's so sad. I've just missed out on the very final podcast after all these weeks. But we do have something here to celebrate.
We do. That was bestowed by Kimberly Bond, who's very, very kindly left us a bottle of Prosecco, not champagne, Prosecco, which in very professional manner, we're going to open now to celebrate and commiserate. So I'm going to do this a little bit away from the microphone and hope
Ready?
I don't get it.
I think just take the
It's
whole
coming,
studio
it's coming.
out. It's coming.
Ready? Hey! So, here we go. I'll try and get that glug.
I mean, it's never too early to start.
I should say as well, these are in, half pint glasses?
Half pints.
Or pint glasses? Yeah. And we're filling them not to the top, but it's on its way. Near enough. I mean, it is a Monday. Right, so cheers. And on we go. So... First things first, yes, Alex did indeed become the 10th celebrity to be eliminated, missing out on a place in the semi-final after her samba to Joyful from Sister Act fell to win over the judges ahead of Chris Ramsey. The pair of them were in the dance-off. So, Emma, was Alex the right celebrity to leave this week?
Yes. I've said it every week that I've wanted her to really come out of her shell, prove that she's someone like Chris has come on leaps and bounds and he's thrown himself into it. I feel like Alex has always had a little bit of, I'm not quite giving it my all. But, I mean, it was kind of obvious that she was going to go through the dance choice. The samba, the curse of that samba, no one seems to be able to do it apart from Kelvin Fletcher.
You're completely right.
And I mean, this far into the competition, it's quite dodgy going quarter-final doing a samba. It's going to be dangerous.
I know, and I felt really bad for her because, looking at, as you say, the dance choices, we've got a Charleston in there, an American Smooth, Foxtrot, all quite crowd pleasers. And then a samba, I mean, like you say, it is cursed. And she just really didn't have luck with that. But also... I mean, she was at the bottom of the scoreboard on Saturday night. So both her and Chris actually were the bottom two. So actually, when you get the bottom two that are in the leaderboard in the dance-off, you think, OK, well, the viewers have reacted to the dances in the same way the judges have. And actually, that's quite fair. Because if you think about, Emma Barton, Karim or Kelvin, if any of those three had been in the dance-off, we'd probably be having words and thinking, oh, that's not quite the right decision.
Oh, definitely. Because they were up there with 39, 39 and 40.
Yeah.
You could not have had that. I mean, if they were in the dance-off, that would be absolutely ludicrous.
Exactly. But interesting that Alex was at the bottom, but only by 1 point. And that point did come from Shirley Ballas, actually, because both Alex and Chris got 6, 7 and 7. That's from Craig, Motzi and Bruno. And Alex got a 7 from Shirley, but Chris got an 8 from her. So she did obviously prefer it by a whisker, and that was reflected in the dance-off when it came to choosing who to save. And I've been a bit nerdy here, and I've looked back at what's happened the rest of this series, because I feel like the judges have been unanimous pretty much when it's come to the dance-off. And actually, it seems, if the stats are to be believed, it's only happened once so far this series where the judges have been split 50-50, and that was over Mike and Katya and Catherine and Johannes in week 6. So this is the second time that's happened. So you can see how close it was. And actually, I don't know, I can kind of see why, because of that, Shirley has been getting some flack.
Yeah, she has. I think a lot of people have been throwing accusations of favouritism, saying that, Chris has been one of Shirley's favourites from the beginning. She's always wanted to save Chris. The thing is, there's an element of voting, the public do it, so I think it's a bit ridiculous, the public saying, oh, it's favouritism, because let's be honest, some people voting are going to be voting for favourites. You get to know people along the way, you watch their journey unfold. She's a judge at the end of the day, and I agree with her. Chris was the better dancer in that results show, and I think the thing with him as well is it was fun to watch. Alex's dance was great. It wasn't boring. I wasn't sitting there going, oh, this is awful.
Yeah.
But Chris she just got you going and you enjoyed watching it. Whereas I feel Alex was slightly awkward and didn't quite let go. And I feel with Alex, when I watch her, I'm waiting for her to sort of make a mistake, because I feel she's not properly just going for it. There's lacking a little bit of confidence, where I feel Chris knows he was not a dancer from the get-go, but now he knows he's kind of getting there and he's just going for it every week. And that comes across.
You're so right. Going for it is how you could describe that foxtrot. And I think also, I mean, we've said about the samba and that being cursed, but do you know what? I think such a big part of it as well, as ever, is the music choice. And Consider Yourself from Oliver, again, it's so well known. Everyone loves it, really upbeat. And I have to say, like, I have seen Sister Act, but I didn't really know Joyful that well.
No. Well, because obviously each week we get the dances through. When I was putting it together last week, sort of who's dancing to what on which song, I Googled it. I went on YouTube and I was like, I really don't remember this song from Sister Act. But it's from Sister Act 2.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I think it's from Sister Act 2. Unless it's in the
probably
first
why I don't remember it. Don't think I've seen Sister Act 2.
But that's the thing, is Oliver, like anything from Oliver, I mean, it's part of most of our childhood. You watched it growing up as a kid. It's such an upbeat song. And I just feel like the samba with, like you say, with the song that they chose, they were sort of going off on the wrong foot from the get-go.
Yeah, it's a bit of a duff hand on both parts, bit duff dance, bit duff music. And yeah, I feel like if we'd have seen that Paso Doble that she did at Blackpool, I mean, she'd have been straight through, I think, because that was her strongest performance and it was incredible. But it just shows, like Michelle Visage actually, like you just have one duff week, doesn't matter how much of an amazing dancer you are, and that can be the end of it. But lots of talk, obviously, after this weekend about does the judges' voting need an overhaul? Because some have been saying, obviously mainly on Twitter, that a bit like Deadlock on the X Factor, if the judges are split 50-50 like they were this week, should it revert to the public vote and the favourite with the public should say who goes and who stays? I don't know what you think about that.
I don't think so. I like the fact that Strictly has 4 judges. You've got a head judge. They all know, they're all dancers. They've all worked in the industry. They know exactly what they're looking for. Yes, you know, with any show, someone's going to get knocked out eventually and you're going to get annoyed that they did. But I quite like the fact that Strictly like Bake Off relies on the professional, in a sense, to decide who gets to go home. You know, the public, you get a choice. You get to decide who goes in that bottom 2. And if you really hate the fact that someone's in the bottom 2, well, that's maybe not enough people are voting.
And vote for them next week.
Yeah, exactly.
If they make it through. No, I agree. And I do see both sides of this, because on one hand, it is an entertainment programme and you want the people who the public are enjoying the most and the most entertaining to get through each week.
Yeah.
But similarly, it is about dancing, and the 4 people who do actually know what they're talking about are the ones who get the final say. So I think it doesn't need an overhaul, but I can see why people are saying that. But I mean, if you're not going to have that, that's the other thing. If you have an odd number of judges, if you had 3 judges or 5 judges, you wouldn't be in this situation so much. I think it's just the fact that there are only 4, so it's 50-50, and people have an issue with the fact that it's Shirley who has the weighted vote, but someone's got to be head judge.
Well, someone has to. It's like Len was head judge for years. Like, he had the weighted vote. I think people have just had such an issue with Shirley and the decisions she's been making. But, you know, I imagine Motzi would make similar decisions, or Bruno would make similar decisions. I mean, I know they were divided here. It was Motzi and Craig voted for Alex, Bruno and Shirley obviously voted for Chris. But someone's got to do it.
Someone's got to be the bad guy.
Exactly. And unfortunately, it's poor Shirley.
Yeah. And there were also, I mean, coming back to the vote, there were some technical problems with it on Saturday night. Some people were struggling with messages saying they'd already voted when they hadn't voted. Others were being told that voting was yet to open, even though it was. So again, some people were saying that the vote this week should have been scrapped. I don't know. Again, what do you think about that?
I mean, it's a bit drastic, isn't it, to scrap the whole vote? And also, they did extend it. They extended the vote till 9 p.m. And I feel like if you're someone who was watching and you were sat there wanting to vote, you're in. You're not about to rush out somewhere. You're not half watching it on your phone at a bar. Like, you're
I don't know, some people might. Not that I've done that, but I can imagine myself doing that.
But, you know, if you're someone who's, like, desperate to vote on this show, you're still going to vote even if it's been extended till 9. So I don't think it should have been scrapped. You had plenty of opportunity to still vote, and unfortunately, they were the bottom 2. But to be fair, like we said, they had to be the bottom 2 anyway. So
exactly,
you know, and it wasn't the public vote that sent Alex home; it was the judges. So either way, Chris and Alex were the ones that needed to be there in the first place. So I don't really understand what the commotion's been.
People love complaining about anything
On
but
Twitter.
on Twitter mainly. But no, I do completely agree. And I think, as you say, the fact that it was the bottom two on the leaderboard, that we're in the bottom two, we can't really complain. But the one thing I would say, though, is that we could have done a week without a vote off, because obviously with Will Bailey pulling out, there were only 3 people going to be in the finals. So if they were that desperate to avoid controversy, they could have done that. But you're right, it would have been
a bit boring as well, just having a quarter final where no one goes.
Yeah,
it's like, what's the point in watching? They're all going through to the semi-final anyway.
Exactly. So the first, and some would say overdue, 40 of the series as well went to Karim and Amy for their jive to You Can't Stop the Beat from Hairspray. Was it well deserved as being the first full mark dance this series?
Oh, definitely. I mean, everyone who listens to this podcast knows I'm an avid Kelvin Fletcher fan, and I've been waiting for him to get a 40. But that was so well deserved from Karim. And it's true, like Tess Daly stood there and said, I don't actually think I've ever heard this kind of applause and this kind of reaction. And actually, when you think back, like, people get standing ovations, but that was just the roar from that audience. And the poor thing looked so overwhelmed. I was like, oh, someone give him a hug.
It didn't stop for minutes, it felt like, did it? I know. I do think, though, similarly, like how Alex got the duff hand with the samba and the sister act, I think that you combine a jive with You Can't Stop the Beat from Hairspray, and you're never not gonna just take the roof off.
Exactly.
And if you're, a really good dancer like Karim is, you get a combination of that dancing song, and it is just going to be explosive.
Yeah.
So I think that did give him a massive push in that sense. Obviously, he's phenomenal, and obviously it was done so well. But again, such a crowd pleaser.
It is, and everyone knows it, and everyone loves a jive. It's such an upbeat dance as well, and it's not as difficult as trying to like move everything in time when you're doing a samba. It's technically a lot like harder. But I think with Karim as well, like, props to him. He came back from the dance off.
That is true.
It was between him and Saffron, and I mean, Saffron was great, but God, Karim needed to stay. But I mean, it shows that even if it did affect him, that he was down in the bottom 2 last week. I mean, my God, it didn't affect him when he was out there on Saturday night. Like, he just went for it. And to come back from that to then get a 40 is quite impressive. Like, mentally, he must have been going through it this week.
Absolutely. No, it was incredible. And I know him and Kelvin, actually, they've been so good from week 1, but they are the ones that you just can't help. Like when you hear Tess say, and up next, you just go, oh yeah, I won't get my cup of tea now. I'm going to watch this bit. Yeah, they are, both of them, actually. I think there's so little between them. And Kelvin this week as well. I mean, I wish he'd got a 40 as well, because I think he did deserve it. It was such an amazing performance. I loved it.
Yeah, and again, like something everyone knows, Gaston, Beauty and the Beast. Like, I mean, our generations that have gone, generations coming up, like everyone knows that song. And the thing with him being an actor helps him, because he was so in character as well.
Yeah.
And to watch him is so engaging.
Yeah.
Everything about it. And the thing with him is he can dance with all those people around him and not get lost.
Yeah, that's very true. And again, big props to that sort of stag swing chandelier thing at the end, which I just loved. I thought it was amazing, and doing that without a wire was pretty good. But like you say, again, we all know that song, and that's just got to be such a massive help really in anything like that. But talking of the 40s, again, went a little bit nerdy just to have a little look, because we feel like we've been waiting and it's been really overdue. Everyone's going, why is he getting a 40? And this year, obviously, we've had to wait until week 11 for it. And last year, the first 40 was actually in week 9, so it was only a couple of weeks beforehand.
2 weeks later this year?
Yeah, 2 weeks later.
So was it Blackpool? Must have been, yeah.
It must have been, yeah. It was Ashley and Pasha.
Oh, yeah.
But it was the year before that, Debbie McGee, she apparently broke the record for the earliest ever 40, and that was for a tango in week 7.
Was that the one where she kissed Giovanni? Just went.
I think it might have been, actually.
Like, whoa, what are you doing, Debbie?
Maybe she got extra marks for that. But again, really nerdy.
Yeah.
In 2015, there weren't any 40s until the final. That was the year Jane McGuinness won. No 40s. So we think we've been waiting for it for a long time. Actually, there have been years where we still haven't had a 40 at this stage. So I don't think. That's the other thing that people have been saying this year about overmarking and lots of talk about the marks. But actually, if you look back, it's kind of like this every year.
Yeah, this year has felt though, like I think it's more Kelvin, because from week 1 he got some ridiculous score. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head. So then I think that's why there was the expectation of the 40's got to come really early. It's going to come, and then it's like, no, he still hasn't got it, and Karim had to wait till week 11. I think that's been the issue, because the scores were quite high in sort of week 2, 3. then sort of stayed about the same. So you're sort of just waiting for that next like platform up to the 40, topped it, done.
Exactly. And it's hard, just like Debbie McGee getting that in week 7. I mean, if you do, where do you go from that? I mean, you physically can't do any better. So, unless you just maintain that score from then until the end.
Give me the trophy.
Exactly.
Pass the glitter ball.
So I don't know who your favourite or least favourite performances were from this week, and if we think Musicals Week delivered.
I think it did. I mean, apart from like we were saying about some of the song choices, particularly Alex's, I mean, there's a lot of people on Twitter, again, venting.
The T word,
was saying that Musicals Week was an absolute disappointment. I don't know what they were expecting. I thought the dance choices were quite good. I thought the songs were all good. Bar sort of won. I don't know what more people wanted from it.
What do you want, people? What do you want with the vote? What do you want with the songs?
Choose the songs and dances?
Oh my God. Maybe we should all have a vote on that as well, so that no one can complain. It's like, we voted for the dances, we voted for the songs.
Oh my God, it's becoming the X Factor.
Yeah, it is. Let's not mess with the format too much. I have to say again, though, like I felt Emma Barton, I felt really bad for having to go after Karim, because
I know. You were just like, just close the show with Karim.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't really do it in that order, because normally they do end with that incredible, uplifting, blah, blah, blah. And then I just felt really sorry for her. However, when she did come out with that Charleston, again, she was able to kind of blow the roof off, and it was really good. But I think, again, for me, I was looking for like a little bit more. I was quite surprised with a 39, weirdly. I don't know what I was expecting. Yeah, I think it's because I think back to so many other Charlestons that, like Caroline Flax, for example, that are just amazing, and that I think she scored 40 for that, Caroline. And I didn't feel like it was quite up there with. I feel like you can put more tricks in a Charleston, there weren't.
It was a bit
as
safe.
Much as that. It was a bit safe, exactly. But obviously, again, the technical bits, obviously incredible, and that is why she got a 39 and was on a par with Kelvin.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I mean, if you were Emma Barton right now, you'd be feeling great.
Absolutely.
Because if you were in this competition, Kelvin's your benchmark. Kelvin's like the one you need to be up there with if you're going to do well. But the thing that I sort of get sad at with Emma and Anton is, and we've spoke about it before, obviously this is the furthest Anton's ever got.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever had a 10 in his life on Strictly.
He's now
just got 3 this week. But everything seems to be on Anton. It's all, oh my God, Anton's got there. But it's like, the reason Anton's got here is because Emma Barton's been a really good partner for him.
That is so true.
It's like, can we just appreciate how good Emma is?
Yeah, that is so true. I hadn't really thought of it like that. But you're right. It becomes like that with some of the pro dancers, doesn't it? If they're quite well known, like with Kevin Clifton, for example, making the final every year and then not winning. When he actually did it with Stacey last year, it was all like, Kevin, you've done it, you've won. It's like, sorry, Stacey's over there, we're not going to talk to her. Oh no, don't worry. So yeah, it becomes the professionals more of the story, I guess, isn't it? So I mean, I think there'll be a lot of people who would like to see Anton lift that glitter ball, but Emma is going to have a little bit of an uphill struggle, I would think, against
I think so.
Karim and Kelvin. But we'll come to that in a bit. First of all, we have to talk a bit of off the dance floor drama this week. There were some tabloid reports that, according to sources, the Strictly curse is struck for 2 of this year's stars. I'll stress again.
40s.
Yeah, this is a tabloid. That tabloid is the Daily Star. This is what their source, heavy quotes, had to say. You wouldn't have put these 2 together. If people knew they had been quick stepping into the bedroom, they'd be stunned. It seems there was an attraction early in the contest. They tried hard to resist, but they couldn't hold back. So early in the week, RadioTimes.com's entertainment correspondent Kimberly Bond spoke to psychologist Emma Kenny to get her opinion on the Strictly curse. And she gave us a bit of a lowdown as to what she thinks it's all about. And she says it's throughout our DNA that dancing is something that can be used to attract a mate. So the fact that Strictly does a few things, it puts people together based on height and weight and things. There's almost like a reasonable reflection of the person you're dancing with. It's not too distorted to your own self. So people who are a bit like us, we often find more attractive. She also then says about that it's really intense and that you're sharing this intimate space and there's things like serotonin and dopamine going on. I think it's just that you're sort of rubbing up against someone of the opposite sex for like 4 months, and even if you don't initially find them that attractive, it probably is going to happen over time. But she did say some quite interesting things there.
She did. And the thing is, you know, if you actually think about it, it's would be surprising that there's not more Strictly curse going on.
That we know of.
Exactly. I was going to say, I mean, we don't know. We only know about this alleged couple. But I mean, you're hours and hours a day, like you said, rubbing up against one each other. If you're doing something like the Paso Doble, a really intense, like romantic kind of dance, you're doing that every day, 9-10 hours a day for 5 days a week.
Absolutely.
And they're training from August. If you reach the final, you're in it till December. You're nearly half a year with this person intimate every day. But that's the thing, is that's what she was saying, Emma Kenny. She was saying your brain almost tricks you into thinking that you found the love of your life. Whereas actually, if they just held off for 2 months after the show, they probably realised that it was just the intimacy and the dancing that was keeping them together.
Yeah, it'll dip after that. Yeah, exactly. But I think that's the thing in Australia, isn't it? All the professionals, well, pretty much all the professionals, are really young, fit, really attractive. And again, you can just see how it happens. And I think it's funny how shocked people are every year. They go, I can't believe it struck again. It's, well, of course. What were you expecting?
I wouldn't want if I was married, I would not want my husband going on that show.
No.
Not at all.
No.
Because that's what she was saying. She was like, you could be so in love and you're married, but the routine becomes so notably a routine once you start doing this dance every day with this person. So I'd be like, no way, honey,
no.
I'm going on that show. And isn't it Ben Shepherd who's...
It was about to mention, you do a Ben.
His wife has basically said you're not going on that show.
I think James Cracknell's might have done as well when they were together, and then they split up. But
anyway,
she
had no worries because it's gone in week 1.
No, yeah. That's the thing, isn't it? If your other half did it and then they went in week 1, you'd go, oh, so sad about that.
Yes.
Anyway. But all the remaining celebs, the last 4, they have to do 2 dances next week. Chris Ramsey is doing the rumba, which I have to say I'm not really looking forward to.
I'm worried it might be his week to go next week.
I think it could be. Well, that was it. I was going to say, who do we think the 3 finalists are going to be? Because currently we do have Chris and Karen, Kelvin and Oti, Karim and Amy, and Emma and Anton, and only 3 of them can make it to the final.
I think Emma's going to make it.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be Kelvin and Karim will basically be between those 2. Emma will make it. I think Chris is out next week.
Who's going to be in the dance-off with him, though, if that does indeed happen? You think?
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because Karim, obviously, I think he did only land in the dance-off because people thought he was safe. But is almost lucky that happened to him last week. Yeah. Because I think it's given people that push at home to go, oh, he's not actually safe. Oh, we do actually have to vote for him. So hopefully he will still get those votes. But so far, I mean, Kelvin hasn't been in the dance-off and neither has Emma. So it's either, again, people, they really, really have loads of support and loads of people are voting. Or again, we could see people thinking, that get a bit complacent about them, thinking, oh, don't vote for them because they're so safe. They've not been in the dance-off. Maybe we're in for a shock next week.
Well, that's the thing, because it should be obvious. If Karim's in it with Emma, the judges have got to save Karim. Surely, overall, he's been the better dancer the whole way through.
But they don't base it on that.
Exactly.
It's all about the dance.
Dance.
But that's again where you end up with occasionally quite frustrating results because you think, no, look back. They were really good and they've had an off week.
Next week could be a bit of a barrage of abuse again for poor Shirley.
Yeah.
Depending on who's in that dance off.
Well, because they have 2 dances at least, even if they have a bit of a duff one, maybe they might get saved by their other dance.
Exactly.
So we will have to wait and see. So all that remains for me to say is thank you and goodbye to Emma. Can't believe it's the final one, but it's been absolutely amazing having you not only on the podcast, but in the office as well.
I will miss you all.
And I'll top up your Prosecco as we say goodbye. So thank you all for joining us as well. And we'll be back next week for Strictly Between Us. Goodbye.